This is the Unit 8 Practice Credit Recovery video. We will be graphing inequalities. First, we have to solve. I'm going to solve using Don't Call Me After Midnight. D is distribute. C is combine like terms. That first M stands for move variables. A is add or subtract, and M is multiply or divide. So looking at this, to graph, I want to graph with y and mxb. So I want the y to be on by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and box that because that's what I want to kind of solve for first. I'm drawing a line down that inequality. I don't need to distribute, combine like terms, or move variables, but I do need to add or subtract. I'm going to subtract 6x on both sides, and I am left with 2y is greater than negative 6x minus 14. I am now going to divide by 2 so that I can isolate y. Remember, when you divide by 2, you divide everything by 2. And I'm left with y is greater than negative 3x minus 7. Okay, and now I'm going to graph that. When I graph, I'm going to use negative 7. It's going to be my y-intercept, and negative 3 is my slope. So if you want to write that out, my slope is negative 3, my y-intercept is negative 7. So I'm going to go ahead and put my y-intercept first. 7 at 0, negative 7. And then I'm going to go ahead and graph my slope. Remember, slope is rise over run. So I'm going to go up 3 and then to the back 1. Now to determine if this is going to be a solid line or a dashed line, looking at my inequality sign, okay, it is just greater than, okay, so it's going to be a dashed line. If it was greater than or equal to, then it would have been a solid line. And the last thing that I have to do is shade. So when I think about shading, I'm looking at the inequality and I'm saying that my y values are greater than. So looking at my y-intercept, the y values that are greater than will be above my line. So I'm shading above the line, which happens to be on the right side. Number 2, same concept, don't call me after midnight. I don't need to distribute, combine like terms, or move variables, but I do need to add or subtract. Okay, I'm trying to isolate that 5y first, so I'm subtracting x from both sides, and I'm left with 5y is less than negative x plus 25. The last thing I'm doing now is dividing by positive 5, and I get y is less than negative 1/5 x plus 5. Now that I've solved, I know that my slope is going to be negative 1/5, and my b, so my y-intercept, is going to be 5. The first thing I'm doing is plotting my y-intercept, and then I'm going to use my slope to finish graphing. So a slope of negative 1/5, down 1, back 5. Looking at my inequality, this is just less than, so it's going to be a dashed line. And y is less than negative 1/5 x plus 5, so less than, I'm shading below. Okay, greater than, you're going to shade above your line, less than, you'll shade below your line. Okay, and number 3, this one does not have a y, so I'm going to just solve for the only variable that I see, which is x. So I'm isolating x. I don't need to distribute, combine like terms, or move variables. I do need to add or subtract. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I get x is less than negative 4. Okay, I don't need to multiply or divide, so I'm crossing that one out. So for x is less than negative 4, that's going to be a vertical line at x equals negative 4. Again, this is not equal to, so it's going to be a dashed line. and x is less than, so less than is to the left, because I'm shading all the x values that are less than -4, which would be -5, -6, -7, and so on. If at any point I'm going too fast, please feel free to pause the video so that you can catch up. Number 4, y minus 6 is less than or equal to 0. Okay, this one does not have an x variable, so I'm going to be having a horizontal line. I'm still going through my same steps of don't call me after midnight. Here I don't need to distribute, combine, or move variables, but I do need to add or subtract. I'm going to add 6 to both sides, and I'm left with y is less than or equal to 6. This will be a horizontal line, so I'm going to have a horizontal line at 6. If you are familiar with Vux Hoy, this is Hoy. And it says that, it is less than or equal to, so it is actually a solid line because of the equal to. And it says y is less than, so if it is less than, I'm shading below. I want to shade all the y values that are less than 6, so that's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, -1, and so on. Number 5 says graph the inequality y minus 3 is less than 2 times x plus 2. This one has a few more steps, but it's still the same thing that we've been doing. Okay, now I actually do have to distribute, and what tells me that I have to distribute are the parentheses, so I'm going to distribute 2 to the inside. I'm going to rewrite the left side, so y minus 3 is less than 2x plus 4. Okay, I don't need to combine like terms or move variables, but I do need to add or subtract. I'm going to add 3, and I'm left with y is less than 2x plus 7. Here my slope is 2, and my y-intercept is 7. So I'm going to go ahead and graph my y-intercept of 7 and use a slope of 2. It is a positive 2, so I should have an increasing graph. Okay, y is just less than, it's not equal to, so that means it'll be a dashed line. And it tells me that y is less than. Okay, so I'm going to be shading below the line. So I'm shading all the y values that would be below. Number 6, this is a multiple choice question. It says use the grid to graph y is less than x plus 4. Which coordinate point represents a solution of this inequality? So the first thing that we have to do is we have to graph this. So y is less than x plus 4. My slope is 1 and my y-intercept is 4. So I'm going to go ahead and graph it y-intercept of 4 and use the slope of 1. Okay, it is just less than, it's not equal to, so it'll be a dashed line. So if it's a dashed line, that means anything on the line is not actually a solution. A solution is going to be anything that is in the shaded area, which we're going to do next. So y is less than. So if it's less than, that means I'm shading below. So anything in the shaded area is the solution to this inequality. So I'm going to go ahead and plot the points. So -8, 2. So -8, +2. Okay, that is not in my shaded area, so I know that's not a point. Okay, b is 2, 0. Okay, could be. It's in that area. -2, 2. Okay, -2, 2 is on my line, but that is a dashed line, so that means that point is not included. And 0, 6. Okay, which is also outside of the area. So 2, 0 is the only possible answer. Number 7, which inequality is represented by this graph? So from the graph, I'm going to figure out the slope and the y-intercept. So looking at the y-intercept, it is at 2. Now I just need my slope. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate 2 of the answer choices. sorry, none of the answer choices yet. I'm going to figure out my slope and then eliminate. So I'm going to choose my x-intercept and my y-intercept. And I know that slope is rise over run. So it's rising 2 and it's running backwards 3. So the rise over run is 2/3 and it was a negative slope. So the only one that has 2/3 is A and B. So I can cross out C and D because those are 3/2 and that's not the right slope. And now I'm just going to look at my inequality sign. So this one is shaded above. So if it's shaded above, that means y is greater than because it's shaded above, so greater than. And the only one that is shaded above or that has y is greater than is B. Number 8, which inequality represents the graph? Again, I'm going to go ahead and pull my y-intercept and my slope. So my y-intercept is -1. And I'll use that point. And my slope is rise 3 and run 5. And my slope is 3/5. So they all have a slope of 3/5. And they all have an x-intercept of -1. Okay, so let's see if I can eliminate by looking at the inequality sign. If you notice on the graph, it is a solid line. So that means that my inequality has to either be less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So automatically, I can eliminate A and D. So now looking at the inequality, my graph is shaded below. So below means it has to be less than or equal to, which is C. Number 9, graph the inequality y minus 6 is greater than -3 times x plus 2. Okay, go ahead and bring it back. Don't call me after midnight. This tells me I need to go ahead and just start with distribution. So I'm distributing that -3 to the inside. So -3x minus 6. I don't need to combine like terms or move variables, but I do need to add or subtract. I'm going to add 6. And I'm left with y is greater than -3x. And -6 and +6 cancel out to give me 0. To go ahead and graph that, I know I have a y-intercept of 0. And my slope is going to be -3. It's going to be a dashed line. And it says y is greater than, so I'm going to shade above the line. And last one, number 10. Graph the inequality y plus 2 is less than 4 times x plus 1. Don't call me after midnight. I'm going to start with distributing that 4. So I get 4x plus 4. No combining, no move variables, but I will add or subtract. I'll subtract 2. And I get y is less than 4x plus 2. And all I'm left to do is graph. So my y-intercept is at 2 and my slope is 4. It'll be a dashed line. And this is y is less than, so I'm shading below the line. And we have finished the credit recovery for Unit 8 practice. Again, if this went too fast, make sure that you rewind and pause it on anything that you need.